There's been some conversation about banning businesses from mandating that employees get vaccinated. And I know that many people are frustrated, that they don't want their employer telling them what to do. I hear you. And that's why I didn't order state employees to get vaccinated. In fact, I banned the state from instituting vaccine passports. Because of our respect for freedom, South Dakota's work ethic is second to none, and our business environment is second to none. Business freedom and individual freedom work together to make South Dakota's economy the strongest in the nation. Now, I have been vaccinated. More than 60% of eligible South Dakotans have been vaccinated against the virus. And I'd encourage every South Dakotan to choose to get vaccinated if you want to. But that's your choice, and it should be your choice. Government shouldn't be mandating it to you. That's why I will oppose President Biden's illegal vaccine mandates. I will take every action available under the law to protect South Dakotans from the federal government. South Dakota has not imposed any mandates. In fact, I was the only governor in America who never ordered a single business or church to close. And frankly, I don't think the businesses should be mandating that their employees be vaccinated either. And if they do mandate vaccines to their employees, they should be making religious and other exemptions available to them. But I don't have the authority as governor to tell them what to do. And since the start of this pandemic, I have remained focused on what my authorities are and what they are not. Now, South Dakota is in a strong position because I didn't overstep my authority. I didn't trample on the rights of our people, and I'm not going to start now. When leaders overstep their authority, that is how we break this country. And if government starts acting unconstitutionally, even if it's doing something that we like, that is a dangerous path to walk down. It will actually lead to the destruction of our Constitution and our nation. We must be a nation of laws, and government must be constrained by the Constitution. It is not conservative to grow government and to tell businesses what to do and how to treat their employees. Most of the Republican legislators in South Dakota, they get that. But there are a vocal few, like John Hanson and Scott Odenbach, who are chasing headlines and are trying to tell South Dakotans how to do business. They want to make government bigger and more powerful in your life. And it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Know this, that their proposal as written is not conservative. Making government bigger and giving it more power is not conservative. Some business leaders may make decisions that we disagree with, and that happens every single day. Businesses that choose to require vaccinations should do so with the full knowledge that their employees and their future workers, they may have other choices. And workers may be faced with a time when the requirements or values of their employer is inconsistent with their own beliefs. But bringing government into those decisions is not the solution. It won't solve the COVID-19 pandemic, and it won't solve the workforce shortage in our state, and it won't solve the challenges that businesses face. Now, my focus will always be this: ensuring that South Dakota remains a great place to live, to work, to raise a family, and to do business. And let me clarify this. Legislators can call themselves into session if they have support. They don't need me to do it. They just need support of their colleagues. Now, if I start telling South Dakotans how to do business, it will destroy the freedom that made our state so strong in the first place. And South Dakota is strong, and I love it with all my heart. You have a wonderful day. Yes.
Would you consider taking the money that you're using to fight the marijuana law that the majority of South Dakotans voted to enact? Would you take that money that you're using to prosecute that and drop the lawsuit to fight the defend Title IX instead?
I'm not spending any money to fight marijuana. In fact, this year
you're spending taxpayer dollars to go to court to defend it, and it was the vast majority of South Dakotans that voted it in. So would you?
That was based on constitutional reasons, though.
Correct.
If you remember, it is when I get sworn in as governor, I take an oath to uphold the Constitution.
Would you consider taking the money from that argument that you're having right now and instead spend it on a losing battle against the NCAA?
So when I get sworn in as governor, I take an oath to the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution to uphold those constitutions. And that is what and why we are challenging the marijuana ballot measure as it was proposed, because it was unconstitutional and how it was drafted and interacted. So that we will continue doing that. But based on that, we also this year, the taxpayers are spending money to put forward programs to regulate medical marijuana as well. So
I guess that's a theme throughout your administration.
What's the theme?
Going against the will of the voters.
Oh, you think so? Did the voters vote on Title IX?
No, that's what
to
I'm
tear it
saying.
down?
I'm just saying that you're using taxpayer money to fight these.
Actually,
frivolous
what I'm
lawsuits
doing
that you're
right
going to
now,
lose.
is not using any taxpayer money. This is a coalition of people. There is no state funds going to this. There is no resources that we're using beyond that. This will be a coalition of people working together to defend Title IX. That is a federal law that has created opportunities for women that I think a lot of people would like to have a discussion on upholding.
Next question, please.
Joe?
Is there ever a time when it would be appropriate for like a trans girl to play girl sports in South Dakota?
You know, there's biologically, is that what you're asking, Joe? I believe
are
girls
there
should play girls
situations-
sports based on their birth certificates.
Well, is there?
With all my opening statement, I talked about the differences.
Sure. Are there? If there's no competitive advantage for a trans girl,
Who determines that, though? Who determines?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I don't see one where there wouldn't be a competitive advantage, but who would determine that? How we would come to that? What boxes do you have to check? You could see the convoluted processes you would get into.
If 1217 does go into law, are you worried at all about the economic impact that could have on South Dakota? I mean,
No.
experts say it could be millions of dollars if the Summit League and NSIC and Division II Wrestling get out of here.
The way that I've issued the style and form revisions, no, I'm not concerned about the impact on South Dakota.
Have you had any conversations with people that are involved in those tournaments coming here through this whole process?
Yes.
Okay. Can you say who?
No, I didn't ask them if I could share their names today, but yes, we've had multiple conversations with them and with others discussing what the legal ramifications, challenges are, and of course a lot of it's been public too. There was some public comments that were made after Idaho passed its law. There's been some discussions that have been made since Mississippi as well passed their law. It's not a secret as to how the NCAA feels about these types of state laws.
You just mentioned other states. Are any of those governors signing on?
Idaho is in a legal challenge right now, and yes, Tate Reeves from Mississippi has signed on to the coalition. Governor Stitt from Oklahoma has indicated his support as well. There's several other governors that are having the coalition go through their legal general counsel recommendations, but they're generally supportive of the idea.
Governor, you were criticized by Alliance Defending Freedom over the weekend after you issued the style and form veto. Now, with this coalition, it's kind of positioning you at the forefront of this issue. I'm wondering, when you came up with this coalition, did you think about the impact on transgender people in the state? And did you consider that using this issue that would affect their lives would be done for political expediency or gain?
Oh, it's not for political expediency or gain, and absolutely I do think about them. That's why this coalition is specifically formed around girls playing girls sports. It's on the differences between men and women and the competitiveness of how they physically are built. It's not a transgender bill, and if you were to put it in that context, that would be completely inaccurate.
Can I ask
It is specifically about protecting Title IX and about women playing women's sports. It is not about transgender. And that is, there's nothing in this coalition or in this discussion today that has to do with that issue.
But the only group of people that this would affect would
Yes.
be transgender people. So it's,
May I say something?
You bet. Go ahead, Herschel.
They're taking you in another direction, and you're talking about protecting Title IX, and it's sort of like they're taking you in another direction, and what you're doing is 100% correct, because what would you consider, and they say transgender, but who do you consider a transgender to compete
in women's sports? And it's sort of like I made a statement about a week ago that if they start doing something like this, you can take myself as an example. At my age today, now I can classify myself as a woman, and Olympics. And I probably could win a gold medal in certain events in the Olympics today, saying I'm a woman. So who would you consider a transgender to be able to compete in Title IX? So that's why we have to protect the fairness of women and with Title IX.
Thank you, Herschel. We appreciate that.
Governor, just going back to my question, if it doesn't affect transgender people, who does it affect?
It affects women. For years, for decades, women have fought for an equal playing field, for equal opportunities, for scholarship money, for programs they can participate in, and to be treated the same as men. That's what Title IX is all about. And it's being threatened by some of the conversations that are happening at the national level, different policies that are happening, part of the decision-making process that happens within the NCAA on where tournaments go, how it's determined, their inclusivity policies, how vague they are and how they've been used in the past. That's why it's important to have an honest conversation about Title IX and make sure we're having a discussion to defend it and keep that right for women out there.
Would this bill affect transgender girls who want to play girls' sports leagues?
Transgender girls who want to play in girls' sports leagues, it will affect girls being able to continue to play girls' sports. And that's how we believe that girls' sports should be defined.
All right, guys, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming. Thank you, guys. Yes. Oh, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah. How can we as locals help you provide never-ending evenings of joy and happiness for all the people?
Well, just your sparkling personality does that for us, Andrew. You know, what I would say as the citizens of South Dakota, welcome people to our state. I think that people are visiting South Dakota because they value what we have to offer. They love our heart for people. They love the fact that we cherish our freedoms, that most of the times when you cross the country these days, you see a lot of ugliness on the news and you see a lot of division in cities. And I don't see that here in South Dakota. I see people that appreciate our way of life. Their families are important to them. They want to support each other and they're a part of a community. So I would say just welcome our visitors in. Show them what South Dakota is and who we are. And that'll be a wonderful, refreshing opportunity for them to spend a little bit of time getting a break from a lot of what we see going on across the country. Thank you. All right. I think we will wrap that up. We'll be around for a little bit if you have other questions. But thank you all for coming. And remember, this week is all about the power of travel. So go around and talk to people. Make sure they're talking about the opportunity to come and visit South Dakota this year. We are excited about the tourism industry and about what it can provide for our state long into the future. Have a wonderful day. Stay warm.
There's been some inquiries about a meeting that you held last year. How was it appropriate to have that meeting with your daughter and key decision makers in her application at that time?
So will you tell the truth this time?
I'll say what you...
Will you?
Yeah.
Well, tell the truth of the story because I've been very clear and spoken to this before, and we've communicated with you directly that my daughter at no time received special treatment. In fact, she went through the same process several others did as well. But we all know that we are short of appraisers here in the state of South Dakota. And for years and decades, we've had people trying to buy houses or buy property, or realtors and bankers and even appraisers themselves that have said that the program in South Dakota needs to be fixed. I came in to fix the program. And so we are fixing it, but also we recognize that some people that have been involved in the industry for a long time don't like that, because the program before required that appraisers train their competition. And it limits their ability to put more dollars in their pocket. But regardless, we need appraisers, we need a fair system, and that's my determined goal. The one thing I'd appreciate is if you make sure that when you're quoting people in your stories, that you're vetting them, that you're making sure you're not only quoting one individual who's contributed to every single political opponent that I've had in the past, and that when we give you facts and give you people you can speak to print the facts, that you will choose to print that as well, especially when you've promised. And especially when your response back to us is completely unacceptable. that it's simply not newsworthy to print the facts. This story is been twisted and has been manipulated, and there's an agenda behind it, and I would appreciate it if our media would make sure that they're going forward and telling the truth and all the facts when they talk about it.
How is it appropriate to have that meeting? Multiple
That
ethics
meeting was
experts
about
have raised
fixing-
concerns.
And my Secretary of Labor answered all these questions, and that meeting was about fixing the appraiser program.
But that meeting also touched on your daughter's application for a
That
license.
meeting was there to talk about fixing the appraiser program and what we needed to do to make sure that we were going forward in a way that got us more appraisers in the state of South Dakota.
And that didn't raise any ethical concerns for you?
To talk about fixing a
To have your
program
daughter
that
in the
needed to
meeting
be
with key
fixed?
decision makers?
She was there speaking to the program.
And her license was pending before the program?
No, the decision was already made on her path forward, and let me be clear, Stephen, and print this. She went through the exact same process that other appraisers did in the state of South Dakota. She at no time received special treatment.
So were you aware that an agreement had been reached before the meeting?
We didn't even talk about that. So,
Your Secretary of Labor said that you talked about it,
talked about her, my daughter?
her application during the meeting.
We could, but the program was talked about at that day, how we were going to reform the program. The meeting was not to discuss her.
But your Secretary of
She
Labor
gave her
said,
personal experiences through the program. Of course, she gave her perspective. And how long it took to go through the program and how difficult it was. But I would also challenge you to go talk to other people in the state that have indicated for years. We have letters of the entire congressional delegation that have said that this appraiser program here in the state of South Dakota was a problem, but also in the country, and that it needed to be fixed. So for years, even when I was in Congress, people would travel to Washington, D.C. to ask me if there's anything I could do to help fix the appraiser program here in the state of South Dakota. So it's been a program that has long been broken, and it has limited the amount of appraisers, which drives up costs for families here and makes it very difficult to do day-to-day business.
why?
And she makes sure you focus on the fact that my daughter was not treated differently. She at no time received special treatment. She went through the same process that several other individuals in the state went through.
So if any of those other individuals had requested a meeting with your labor secretary and yourself and the head of the
I
department,
meet
you would
with
have
people
accommodated
every
that?
single day. In fact, I bet I've had 7 or 8 meetings with individuals in the state of South Dakota just today.
Have you had
So-
any regarding their appraiser application?
Yes, many. Why, do you think I go into this without having conversations with people over the years about the program? Absolutely. I have for years. Anybody else?
When this,
Yes. Jim?
I'd just like to back you up a little bit here. I spent over 2 years working with Tom Hart in your office for a constituent who was having these same types of problems, except he was an experienced appraiser who, with the medical and so on, had to reapply, and it took him almost 2.5 years. He happens to be a committee man of the other party who said he would speak to anyone in your defense on this and how broken that program has been.
Well, we have referred people to Stephen, and he's chosen not to write a story about the broken program because he said it was not newsworthy. Next.
Why was